Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at the changelogs that have come out the last few days and some of the changes that have come in for War Thunder, mainly with the Mad Thunder event and also with a few other things. The nice thing I like about these April Fool's events is they usually do a few little kind of balance changes during the event, so at least it spices it up and it changes it, which I think is kind of cool. We're actually going to switch them around, so the first one we're going to have a look at is update 2.35.1.26, which was the one that came out yesterday, and it is about Mad Thunder. After making my video on Mad Thunder yesterday, yesterday, we played a bit more, maybe 4 or 5 hours, and I've got to say, like, the event itself is quite, I suppose, relaxing, but once again, it doesn't really feel like a fully, like, PvP event. I feel like people are going to get very used to just playing, like, the PvE elements, especially in the team area, and then it's still going to be frustrating if people try and take advantage of that and go around and, try and hold caps or hold extraction points and then kind of go from there. I definitely see there's going to be a problem with resources, since if you're going for all of the general prizes, you're going to need a lot of armor parts, and it seems like the armor parts are the parts which are harder to get, so you'll have to prioritize that when you look on the map for the symbols. But I've been trying to use all of the different vehicles. I don't like the fact that if you want to spawn in one of the higher vehicles, it costs a rage token, and I mean it actually uses a rage token, so you don't get to keep it after the battle, even though you can keep all the other ones. And also the BTR is terrible. I don't know why they've decided to make it so bad, but it's the slowest vehicle. Obviously the gun is quite nice because you don't have to reload, but overall it's just a awful vehicle with a terrible carrier capacity. It's much better at the end of the day to pick up a porcupine at the end of a battle and then just get that little like scanner which scans for rage. Then you can go to those areas, use the speed, pick them up, and there you go. That's much easier to get the rage points. But anyway, the changes were pretty simple. For the porcupine, the speed of traversing the gun horizontally has been increased from 50 to 100 degrees per second and 30 to 60 degrees vertically, so they've made the gun a lot faster. And also they reduced the vertical dispersion of the 20mm by 40%, which I think is fair, since for some reason it was a shotgun even at shorter ranges. The porcupine was very hard to use, and generally it was just a very weird vehicle for that, but now the gun's faster, and then also it has less spread, so now there's much more use in using it. Also, the powerful porcupine and strong porcupine, a bug with the vertical guidance of the static flamethrowers has been fixed, and also control of the flamethrowers has been transferred from the gunner to the driver. So even if your gunner's knocked out and you only have one person left, you can still use the flamethrowers. The flamethrowers are completely useless. I actually chased targets yesterday. Since the audio issues are still around in the game, you can't hear people who are around you. So literally, I was just chasing people around with the porcupine, trying to destroy them with the flamethrower, setting their whole vehicle on fire, including all of their crew. Did absolutely no damage to them at all. So the flamethrower upgrade is completely worthless on the porcupine. Don't even bother with it. The strong idea of the porcupine is not too bad though, with the extra kind of armor on the gun, especially if you're wandering around, so you can, at least tank one more shot than before. Also, with the porcupine, the reverse speed has been increased from 13 to 39 kilometers an hour, and for the echidna, they've also increased the reverse speed 2 to 30, and with the boar, the reverse speed has been increased to 25. So a lot more mobility, which is really good. They also reduced the collision damage for Mad Thunder event vehicles for the wheels. That's been reduced. And also for Mad Thunder event vehicles, repairing has been made 2 times faster. So you're not going to be sat there for ages with a busted engine. It'll only take you like 6 to 10 seconds. I like the fact that they reduced the collision damage. There was areas of the map where you would literally just like fall from an area and then your wheels would just break. So it's very nice what they've fixed. There's also a bunch of like theories about what they're testing. So first of all, like dynamic weather testing, they've already done that. They've done that for years. Dynamic weather's been in the game since New Power, actually. So I don't know where that idea comes from. The major thing I feel like they're testing is the map and also the extraction idea, where if they create like a PvE setup, like how people are going to get to the extraction zones and what general ways they're going to take stuff. And then the other one is actually the fact of being able to modify your vehicle before you go into a battle. So imagine you have like a Panzer IV, and you can choose to either have like the side plate armor on it, or have like the Winterketten tracks, or the additional armor on the turret. So you'll have a bunch of different presets that if you want to bring in, you can. And I think that would be kind of cool, and that would be kind of interesting. So hopefully at some point, you know, that is what makes it to the game. Because one of the issues that we've had for the longest time in War Thunder is stuff like the VFW, for example, and also the new vehicle from the Germans. There's the Storer 45. You have to pick if you want the sides up or down before the battle. But the problem is there will be times during the battle where what you want will change depending on how much, you know, coverage you actually want. So for example, for the VFW, if you spawn it in first, then it doesn't really matter if you have the sides down. If you spawn it in second, then the sides give you a little bit of extra protection to stuff like CAS or to stuff like, you know, flanking enemies. Not too much protection, but it might be better for you compared to others. It isn't always just you should be, you know, playing it in one way. The same with a lot of the general like German tanks with the Winterketten, the Ostketten, and the side panels, and also the additional armor like the tracks and stuff. It isn't just cut and dry all the time what you should be able to do. So it's quite nice to see the fact that they're thinking about these things. Then there was a server update on the 3rd of April, so this actually came out today, and what they've done is with the TO55, a bug with the display of the flamethrower icon in the action bar has been fixed. I don't know what was wrong with it, but it's quite funny. Then also for the sound, the crews of Chinese ground vehicles have received updated voice acting. This was actually pointed out yesterday, and I didn't even notice it, but there was a bunch of... We were playing ATO China, because we were doing the event, the Pages of History. And ATO China, by the way, is still very fun. Type 69, Type 59, you know, and then WZ305, and the F84G, the H5, all of these are very fun vehicles. And generally, I have had a great time playing them. Sometimes in full uptiers, you know, they can be a bit rough, but most of the time they're great, especially with the laser rangefinder and the heat FS on the Type 69. Feels really good to play. So, but yeah, there was a bunch of people pointing out like, oh, the voice acting sounds different, and I had absolutely no idea. So now it's much better, which is fantastic. Then the 183mm QFL4A1, which is for the FV4005, the Doom Barn, and then also the 165mm L9A1 Centurion Mark V Avery, and also the 165mm M135 M728 CV. The guns now have their own firing sounds, which is just fantastic, because those vehicles are ones which are just fun to kind of donk around in, especially with the FV4005. They're never going to be meta, they're never going to be crazy good or anything like that, but what they're going to be is a bit of fun. And if you have like unique sounds, it makes people want to play them more, and that's good. They also did a bunch more Mad Thunder changes. All of these are fantastic, and also something that at least I've been asking for the last few days, which is great. So once again, it's really cool how receptive to feedback they are with these events, and this set of changes here will definitely make people want to play more, right? If you are destroyed or end a battle in a vehicle with resources, you will now receive 20% of the amount of resources carried, rounded up. Now that may not seem like a lot, but it's a lot. Especially if you're using the boar and if you're using the mule. You know, there's a lot of times where, you know, one of the issues with extraction type game modes is people camp the spawns. And if people camp the spawns, then you will just sit there and you will garner a ton of resources, and then you'll die at the end, and it's incredibly frustrating. It's why I never liked The Division, why I never liked The Division 2, never really enjoyed Tarkov, but mainly because of the wipe stuff, but also that the idea that you can put in so much effort, and right at the end, like when you're 99% of the way through things, you just get gooned by somebody who's just been sat there waiting for you, especially if they're cheating, and you have no idea if they're cheating or not. especially in a game like Tarkov. So it's just not very fun. So this change here for the game mode is fantastic. It makes it's a lot better and a lot nicer, and means that people should be able to play a bit more freely and go around and try a bunch of different stuff. As a person who's been playing this event a decent amount, this is a very positive change, and hopefully it will bring people to come play. And then also, for each extraction, you will now receive 1 rage token, which can be used in the mission to respawn a vehicle. If it's not used, you'll receive it as a resource at the end of the battle. So basically, you can now, instead of getting only 15 rage tokens in a battle, you can technically get 18 now, but it's going to be quite hard to do. And also, it's one of those things which means that you don't have to like fight people to get a rage token to start with. So you can use your first spawn, basically just a resource collect, and then kind of go from there, which is what I was doing anyway. And then if I ran into anybody, then, you know, I would try and kill them and then move on, but yeah. The mission time has also been increased from 15 to 20 minutes. This is a very positive change, mainly because it was very hard to actually get 3 spawns in. Usually you would have 2 or 2.5. If you just gunned it to the zones and kind of like beelined it, you could probably get like 3 spawns in and get some resources, but generally I don't think it would be too great. The mule, the cost of the rage token per respawn has been removed, so you can you can spawn the mule in straight away, which I think is good because it's basically just a resource carrier. So at the start of the battle, you're just going to see millions of mules around, and it'll be really funny to watch. But yeah, the mule is the Floracrad, so it only has a 50 cal and an MG, and it carries 100 resources. So if you spawn it at the start of the battle, and if you get bonked and you're full, you still get 20% of the resources, so that's at least kind of nice. The Armadillo, they've increased the speed. The Armadillo is the BTR, by the way. Thank God they've done that. It's still the slowest vehicle in here. Just to let you know, the mule, okay, so the Floracrad, it can go 100 kilometers an hour, okay? The Armadillo, which is the BTR, can only go 65 kilometers an hour. Kind of crazy, right? They've decreased the heat shell from the recoilless rifle on the Strongbow and Powerful Bow to 0.75 kilos instead of 3.5, so therefore it won't overpressure everything it touches, probably. And also the penetration has been reduced by a lot, but that really shouldn't matter because there's not anything with crazy penetration. So yeah, the Powerful Bow and the Strongbow got recoilless, so they could straight up just gonk people with the gun. And that change is a pretty positive one. I like that one. Because otherwise people would just play that all the time, because then you can gather resources and also bonk people with it. The Boar, Porcupine, and Armadillo, all of their guns have got reduced spread now, so they're all more accurate. That's good. You know, it was kind of annoying running around and not being able to hit stuff. And then also with the Boar, the initial velocity of the 23s has been increased by about 250 meters per second. The Porcupine's gun has been increased by 200 meters per second, and the Armadillo's has been increased by 40 meters per second. I don't think they needed to do that. I think just the accuracy increase was fine. Even, you know, like firing at ranges was fine. The major issue is you're firing AP, and a lot of the time it feels like RNG what you knock out, unless it's from short range, but generally I didn't think this was needed. The Armadillo, the speed of aiming the gun horizontally has been increased from 20 to 30 degrees and from 12 to 5 per second vertically. So that's really good because the targeting speed was also terrible on the BTR. So they've really buffed this thing, which is kind of cool. And for the Echidna, the braking efficiency has been increased, which hopefully means that you won't have as much of an issue trying to get the gun on targets, which was one of the issues before. There was also another update, 2.35.0.55. This came out on the 29th of March, and it made a few changes. The first one was with aircraft. The JAS-39 and Mirage 4000 radars have been reconfigured according to updated data. The detection and identification of them by different RWRs is configured. So we're going to have to see how that works. I wonder if this is more of like a simulator change, so therefore people will be able to see what kind of is going on with it. Then for ground vehicles, the sub 1 and 2, the maximum speed has been increased from 50 to 60 kilometers, so you'll be able to rock around the place. The sub 1 and 2 is actually pretty fun as an AA. I think it works really well, and any of those kind of high muzzle velocity, high RPM guns are really nice to use at the mid-tiers at the moment. Then the Churchill Crocodile, they've reduced the mass by approximately 2 tons, so it might be a little bit faster to go. And then also the Conqueror, the APDS projectile speed has been increased from 1463 to 1493 meters per second. It was nice to actually see a bunch of the Conquerors around while I was going around in my Type 69, a fun vehicle, and if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend giving it a go. In naval vessels, there was also some bug fixes. A bug that caused the survivability percentage displayed on the hit cam to not match the actual percentage when attacking a target with an upgraded crew has been fixed, and also the bug that caused the hit cam to not display a change in the survivability percentage when hitting a target has also been fixed. So overall, big changes for that too. But the main one is about Mad Thunder and making it more enjoyable, and that's exactly what they've done. So make sure to give it a go if you haven't, and also at the same time, if you are grinding out the event, it should be a little bit easier now, and also just a little bit more fun, which is why we're here at the end of the day. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Tullio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pieman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Alan Hacker, Ozzy Panzer, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Cam Arslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.